Howdy, Dennis Bradford here. Let's think some about being, feeling, and doing better.
Your inner child is innocent and trusting. If the arguments given previously in this playlist are sound, the human infant begins to organize the unintelligible mass of experiences by using two-in-one identity judgments to simplify them. That's rock bottom. It's where the spade turns. Those judgments are not justifiable. There's no evidence for them. As infants, we simply begin using our innate ability to make identity judgments. We then naturally begin modifying our conceptual hierarchies. We improve them by noticing relevant similarities and differences, and that process continues throughout life. Ideally, those non-primitive judgments are not only consistent but based on evidence. The primitive singlings out are arbitrary. This is the irrealism of identity and existence. What we notice initially depends upon a number of factors. For example, an infant born blind would obviously not single out colors. Our unique individual genetic endowment counts. So too, of course, do our unique environments. For example, if our parents or other caregivers lovingly attend to us, that makes a huge difference with respect to our self-esteem. For example, if they regularly read to us and play classical music for us, we have a much richer environment than we otherwise would have had. Our infant brains are like the hardware, and life then programs it with the software that comes from our experiences. We are all born innocent and trusting. It's true that each individual's potential is unique and at least slightly different from everyone else's. However, we all have a common core of unwritten innocence. We are also helpless and unable to survive alone for many years. Especially during that formative time, our different environments program us both systematically and accidentally. For example, the natural language that we first learn is a systematic program, and whether we are raised by one parent or by two parents is an accidental but also important program. That programming has an incalculable impact on us physically, emotionally, morally, spiritually, and conceptually. We learn as children how to think, feel, and behave. We all go through the process. This normal human experience, though, is actually a kind of indoctrination into an unnatural state. It's an altered artificial state that's dependent upon our individual circumstances. It covers up and obscures the thought-free natural state of joy that is our birthright. That state, though, is always there behind the screen of thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. That invisible, silent, thought-free state must later be deliberately chosen if it's to be experienced. Nobody would choose it, of course, if they were ignorant that it was there. I hope that in this playlist I've at least alerted you to the possibility that it's there. The other critical step after understanding that it may be there is to value it and choose it over all other options. That's the spiritual way, which can lead to uncovering our true essence, which is being, Buddha nature, enlightenment. The root problem of mastering the spiritual way is ignorance. It's what epistemologists think of as the problem of non-demonstrative evidence. How can we tell whether or not some proposition is true? The proposition in question cannot be what Hume called a relation of ideas, in other words, a conceptual statement that is either necessarily true or false, such as 2 plus 3 is 5, or redness is a shape. It appears that energy testing solves that critical problem. If, as is likely if you've absorbed the content of all the videos in this playlist, you have a personal calibration in the 400s or higher, you have at your disposal a quick, simple, at-home test for determining the truth value of any specific proposition about reality. Yes, there are limits to using it. For example, you yourself have to have integrity and the open-minded, inquiring attitude of a philosopher. It helps to practice your technique regularly. Until your personal calibration is over 600, there's always the possibility of error with respect to some calibration. However, it's extremely useful, and I've not been able to find anything wrong with it. I invite you to try. Test it for yourself. Use energy testing to avoid negative influences and enjoy positive influences. Focus on works that calibrate higher than your own personal calibration and on teachers who also do. Their attractive power will enhance your life. Again, sometimes just reading a relevant book can boost your personal calibration by 35 points. That may not seem like much, but most people don't boost their calibrations by 10 points in their lifetimes. If you work devotedly on diminishing your ego delusion, it's even possible to jump hundreds of points in a single leap. Therefore, your future is as bright as you want to make it. Please realize, though, that most other human beings do not have the understanding that you now have. They simply don't understand what would be best for them. If they really did, as Socrates pointed out, they'd be doing it. They are stuck suffering in their limitations. They are stuck identifying themselves as persons. What can you do to be of help to them? Your single most important task is to raise your own calibration. There's no reason why you cannot raise it at least into the 500s. Once you do that, you'll not only be able to tell people how to live better, more importantly, you'll be able to show them how to live better. Of course, if you can boost it into the 600s or higher, you'll become a real blessing to humankind. That may be your destiny. There's no reason you cannot become a sage. This is the 100th and final video in this playlist. I hope that you've enjoyed them and really benefited from watching them. If you use the content of this emotional empowerment playlist and that of the Stress Reduction Wizardry playlist, also on this YouTube channel, you are already moving in the direction of living better. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, and you shouldn't either. May you live well. Permit me to allow Walt Whitman the last words here. I selected them from his Song of Myself. There was never any more inception than there is now, nor any more youth or age than there is now, and will never be any more perfection than there is now, nor any more heaven or hell than there is now. In all people, I see myself. I exist as I am. That is enough. If no other in the world be aware, I sit content. And if each and all be aware, I sit content. Unquote.